Okay, so here's what just happened. I learned some very disturbing information that was maybe like pertinent to, something. I can say what the information was. It doesn't really matter now. Like, uh, I don't really know where to begin with this. Like, basically, I've been trying to report a crime for quite a while here. I've been trying to have anything regarding like some kind of serious criminal activity, either investigated or like if they would receive a victim impact statement from me, the police, or anything. Because I continue to get directed back to the police. Now we do have a traditional method of reporting crimes to the government. Okay, as is our mandate and prerogative as citizens of Canada. Okay, and so. Let's see here. And that's the justice of the peace. Okay, and so you do have the right to a pre-enquête hearing. Okay, where the justice of the peace will receive the information. I mean, really, kind of the idea is that a legal citizen should in fact provide information regarding a federal crime, to the government, or that's ostensibly, if there's a crime is committed, a justice should be seen to be served. That's kind of the idea. And so, I have tried with the Justice of the Peace, to use their traditional format, and I can talk about that more now. Now today, I thought, I knew that the police weren't interested in the story. Okay, they've told me numerous times that although, they've told me different information. They've told me they don't follow the criminal code. Okay, they don't look at that, and that's a bit weird. Now, someone told me today they do in fact follow the criminal code, but as I kind of told him like about the criminal statute that this was referring to, it's very weird what they start doing. And they won't tell you kind of what. And like really, I believe the police have an important role. I do. I really do. I also believe that the public having trust in the police is important, right? So here's what happened. Okay, so I called the police station, and here's what I was telling them. I was telling them that I had heard that like there's cameras that were being used to monitor people in the washroom. Like, this is something that I heard, but I wanted to kind of like, it was part of the story, and I wanted to kind of add that. I guess they don't take notes on the crimes that get reported. I'm not really sure. They won't let me fill out a victim impact statement or do an investigation. They believe it's not in the public's interest. I don't know. I was pretty harmed by this. Maybe you've heard about the story. Trying to keep this succinct here, but they say that like I'm, basically, they just interrupt me constantly. Like, as you can see here, I can talk about this, and I can say, Institute 366, it's forgery. That's kind of the tip of the iceberg kind of thing, but that's like a pretty much on the nose. I've got irrefutable proof right here. It is, it's, frankly, like, these guys here, these papers, really, like, they are, and they're kind of wrinkly now, because I've had them for a while, and they're out in the rain just now, so it's raining funny, and, here's the thing, like, one of them is a de facto forgery, and one of them looks a little bit bad, and it has a false date on it, which is, maybe like a legal expert could look over this, like maybe someone who, follows the criminal code could look at it, but there's no mechanism for that. Like the police, they're kind of the arbiters of what a crime is. Now that's a whole discussion, trying to understand how that kind of works, that's fine, whatever. And I've gotten the best kind of like explanation, right, is that no one cares. No one cares about the harm that befell me as a result of a false legal threat. Okay, and so middle managers are just allowed to abuse the legal system however they want. Okay, I can accept that about society, I guess. It seems a little bit wrong that middle managers can just break laws and they don't have to. It just seems weird, when you find out what people are in jail for and what. It's funny, and weird stuff. And I think I'm going to contact Tony Merchant. I think there's a Tony Merchant situation. Tony Merchant. Yeah, his office is probably open. I'll give him a call right after this video here. Honestly, this is getting too much. It's getting way too much. It's getting too crazy. Now, no one wants to take on the cops. And I call them sometimes. Now, I called them today. It was to tell them, look, that's what I heard last night, that this guy, he had cameras in the washrooms, and maybe that's pertinent, to watch film. They didn't want to talk about that too much. They don't like hearing about that, I guess. But the thing is that, like, I'm trying to report it, right? Like, they hang up on me, right? They just hang up on me. Like, surprised, and it says on the thing, like, you can report a crime, right, like, online, but it says right on there, if you know the person who's harassing you, then you have to freaking, talk to the police service. You have to call them. Okay, so okay, like I'll call them and I'll tell them, this is a false legal threat and so on. But the extra thing here was like the cameras in the washroom watching people pee and poo. I mean, that's kind of like a pretty bad offense. And I'll tell you, some people got pretty upset about that today, hearing about that information. And I thought that was like irrelevant. They wouldn't really hear that or hear about that. They wouldn't acknowledge like the crime of perversion, at all. They wouldn't acknowledge that. So they wouldn't acknowledge that affair, they either stay away from that. And kind of, as I kind of pressed on about this to 2366, and this was after confirming that they do, look at the criminal code. They kind of retracted that, and they had some nice woman along there who was a social worker. Now, this wasn't, like, you gotta understand, okay, so, like, I called the cops twice trying to report a crime that in the way that you're supposed to, like, through the phone and just the normal way, right? And so I did, I was trying to do that, and then all of a sudden she's like, I'm sending them over. I'm like, okay, I don't really need the police over. And so, like, right away, I mean, I'm telling you, like, I tried to report a murder in progress once. I tried to report a murder in progress, like a guy with a weapon, going to an address. I told them the address, this guy's on his way there. They said, I can't do that. I got to come down to the station. And at that time, they couldn't send someone over, because I was actually asking them if they could send someone over that time to take a statement from me, but they couldn't. At that time, when I was reporting a murder, they said I had to come down to the station. And it was really time critical. I didn't have any way of getting there, I mean, they're saying you have to come here, and I'm like, look, man, this is a guy who's on his way to kill someone. Like, I mean, don't you want to do something about that? Like, really, think about that. But in this case, they were kind of pissed off at me that I called them twice. I mean, the woman was like, I've been talking to you for 3 minutes. I'm like, okay. And she didn't even really want to hear anything that I had to say. She was just like, I'm sending them over. And I'm like, what? I was like, I don't need anyone to come here. Like, I just want to report a crime, It's not an emergency. It's just like something that needs to be investigated. I'm requesting an investigation. I'd like to make a victim impact statement. I think a few people probably would in this case, Now, I mean, it was funny because, like, she hangs up on me. She's like, I'm sending them over. I'm like, whoa. And I put let's call out. I'm like, hostile squad on its way to my address. And for sure, I mean, people maybe don't believe this. Maybe people don't think that this is the level of police state that we're in, sometimes. But they're pissed off at me that, like, I don't know why they're pissed off at me. I'm just, like, asking them to investigate a crime. But apparently that's enough of like an offense to, like, send them over. And basically what they were doing the whole time is they're sort of like, basically interrogating Erin about, my partner, about whether she felt safe, whether, like, how I was doing, how I'm doing. Because I'm a little bit frantic when I'm talking to them, because, the police are pretty rude to me, and typically they have been. And they were a little bit nicer at first this time. They're kind of like being a little bit patronizing, I'd say. Kind of doing the patronizing angle. And the listening without actually hearing any of what I'm saying kind of angle. And that's fine, And I do have a bit of a pressured speech when I talk to the police sometimes, because I can kind of tell that they're going to interrupt as soon as I leave any silence, right? Because that's what they do. You'll notice that when you talk to cops, right? So basically, I mean, the thing is, they're trying to find a way to arrest me. They got 3 different, like, people and a social worker. They got a social worker to interrogate Erin, find out how she's doing, like, how I'm doing, how things are going, So if she was more, she was mad at me, I would have been taken away there. She could say, oh, this guy's bad news, you take him away. I haven't done any crime here. I was trying to report a crime, and but it was a hostile squad. I mean, so she said she didn't have time to talk to me on the phone for like a few minutes, but they did have the resources to deploy a 6-member hostile arrest squad to my house. Hostile arrest squad. They were trying to find a reason to arrest me, and they were assuming that, I was, like, acting crazy enough that, or I don't know, I mean, like, I don't think I'm acting that crazy right now. I get a little bit upset when, when I call the police, I'd be quite calm, and then as things went, as they kind of bullshit and gloss more, I basically am kind of like, I get a little bit upset with them, and I'm kind of like, look, get your shit together, man. Like, listen to me here. Like, don't interrupt me. Listen to me. And I mean, I think, I think that when you're, I think you should be able to report a crime. Like, really, you should be able to say, hey, this had an impact. And I'm not trying to put anyone in prison. I'm not, like, into prison or anything. I just think there should be some kind of recourse. I mean, there should be some kind of thing. And I should have filmed it. But it's hard to, it's raining and no one wants to film stuff. And, they wouldn't like that anyway. They'd probably leave. But the thing is, they left. They left. I mean, they came here to arrest me, and I know they did, right? I know they did, and I know they sent a hostile arrest squad, because that's they're trying to find a reason to put me away. And I'm very grateful that Aaron, you know, like despite, you know, maybe any problems we had, you know, like didn't just say like, yeah, get rid of this guy right now, because, yeah, I don't think she'd do that, you know, but someone else could, you know, someone else could, someone try, you know, it's pretty weird, you know, someone tries to report a crime, they send the cops over instead of listening to you, trying to arrest you. So it's weird that they have the resources to send 6 police and a social worker over to my address, like, and get here in 30 seconds. 30 seconds they're at my house, okay? And I mean, once they see that I'm a little bit clear, I come out of my house and like I'm actually kind of able to say a few words, you know? Actually, you can say quite a few. I started saying quite a few as it went on, you know, realizing they're getting, you know, realize that they're getting, you know what I mean? Like, I don't rap with them or anything. I'd like to sing to the police, they'd probably take me down or fucking harm me. They don't like that, you know. They don't like it when they talk to you. They don't like it when you talk to them. They don't like it. But, you know, I mean, you know, basically they you know, they left. I mean, they did leave. They didn't arrest me. I mean, they were left empty-handed this time. They're not going to want to come back here. I mean, they're not going to come back here. I mean, if that's the response, so like that's the response. Like, this is me trying to report a crime. This is me saying like, hey, you know, this guy has like, you know, I heard there's cameras in this washroom, you know. I mean, like, this is what someone told me. I can tell you who told you, and I mean, he saw the TV array and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, who do you tell? I mean, like, did you tell the police? I mean, the police didn't even want to hear about that. I mean, there's a whole other crime here, too. There's actually a whole bunch of crimes, you know. And you might start looking, you might start seeing there's a few crimes happening. Yeah. Done by people in power. There might be a few crimes being committed by people in power. Oh, who'da thunk it, who'da thunk it, who'da thunk it, who'da thunk it, who'da thunk it. This was a production of